What is up, generals? We are back with Ultimate General Civil War, and this is the J&P Rebalance mod, Confederate, I guess, Major General playthrough. And this is the camp video. What's probably this one? Yeah. What's the most recent save? Yep, here we go. Okay. So here's the state of the campaign. We are getting ready for the battle at Gaines Mill. We have left the skirmish in and around Port Republic. Your operations throughout the valley have forced the feds to mobilize a significant force within the area, delaying their offensives near our capital. That's excellent. Second Union column under General Shields is marching to Port Republic. Must attract and destroy the Union force. This will be the last battle in the area. Defeat the Federals to force their retreat from the valley. Then you'll be free to move your forces and support the defenses of Richmond. Which, given the fact that we have no allies in those battles, presumably, I guess there's either no defenders in Richmond or they're just like stuck in trenches or something around the town. Yeah, and then there's Port Gaines Mill, which is part of McClellan's, I think, Peninsular campaign. So we get to bring 13 units to this. We had 12 at Cross Keys, so we'll add one more to the force, and we should also take a look at the overall health of the Union generally. So let me take a look here. Blah 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 blah. Blah, blah, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. Decided to best troops. That's wonderful. Not really. Blah, blah, blah. Recruits. Okay, so they're getting, looks like a little over 30,000 new men, which makes sense. I inflicted some pretty heavy casualties. A little over a third-ish of that force is rookies, which I would say is pretty accurately displayed here. They've got 35-ish% in the training stat, and then they're fairly well armed, which would explain why I'm starting to see Springfield 61s pick up in the loot pool. So broad spectrum of the intention for this particular operation is it's a wee bit gamey, but we're going to deploy northward and destroy. So let's just take this to the I was doing a thing there for a moment where I was kind of keeping things largely in character, and I kind of like that. So, I've got two different cav units. One of them very experienced. Nathan Bedford Forrest is well known as quite the cavalryman, and more importantly, an excellent raider and reconnaissance dude. So we'll pretend that he and Major General Fiasco here are on good terms. Historically, Forrest was quite choleric, we'll say, and if given to insult, might take it strongly. So we'll say that they're on good terms. He's come back to report that not only is there the force that we're coming here to attack, but there's a supporting column of Union troops coming from the march from this direction, which is off towards the place of and that's off in the northwest towards So the Union forces under the command of General are coming this way, and they're going to fight us, and it'll be great. So we're going to sort of defeat in detail, take care of the force up here, deploy blockers to make sure that if they do try and cross the river, it's going to be very expensive for them to do so, while we take care of the force here, and maybe just a small picket to just make sure that nothing's happening across this bridge, and then we'll shell or attack the force over here, and hopefully that way we're not going to have to worry too much about spreading our forces around. But let's take a look at the army as a whole. So let's introduce you, I suppose, to the army generally. So Fiasco here is on the edge of his second star, which is fantastic. And he's taken the accuracy perk. And that's because I did that in the legendary game. So I was determined to try and keep myself as close as possible with one notable deviation to the legendary campaign. The army, like I said, I've added a die roll when I make a new unit to represent their state. And I have that table somewhere. I don't have it up right now, but basically it's a 2d6 I actually might be larger than that. It might be a D20 roll where, yeah, it's a D20. Okay, so it's weighted towards Virginia and South Carolina, and weighted away from Arizona. Like you need to roll like a 20 or to get Arizona. And in Texas is kind of on the lower end too, just because it's far away. It's hard to get at, and the Union historically anyway took New Orleans fairly early. So it's dumb, fun role playing that I like to do. I didn't do the artillery. Cannons, short of like 12, like 6-pounders or whatever, were fairly expensive assets. And so I'm treating them as being assets of the nation, of the Confederacy. So all of the artillery units in my headcanon are going to be, I don't want to use federal units, but you get what I'm getting at. Like, in the Civil War, there was like the 15th, Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry, but then there was also the 3rd U.S. Infantry, and that was, right, like that was a federal unit. I'm sure the Confederates had a word for that because confederal probably isn't a word. I'm almost certain it's not. But it would be like 1st CSA artillery. Like I said, I'm not typing in CSA in here, and whenever I do a Union playthrough again, I won't for my Union equivalent. And the rationale there is this is already busy enough. 1st artillery, 3-inch, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so meet the Army. 1st Division under Richard Ewell is currently composed of 1st Virginia Rifles, 3rd Texas Infantry, 4th Virginia Infantry, 8th Arkansas Infantry, the 11th Mississippi. As you can see, the regulation size of a Confederate brigade is 1,300 men, which in my headcanon is 2 regiments or 2 battalions of 650-ish men, or any combination of understrength regiments as required to meet the approximate size thereof. However, the 3rd Texas Infantry so these 2 units here are using basically the entirety of my store of Springfield 1861s with, I believe nope, never mind. I was going to say I thought the Tennessee Light Infantry was using them, but they are in fact not. The majority of the Army is composed of riflemen, which is why I'm keeping the size small. It's what I can largely equip them with. 2nd South Carolina, the Carolina Rifles, they've also got the Harper's Ferry 1855, which in my mind is largely interchangeable in terms of its performance characteristics. It's close enough as makes no difference anyway, with the 61. There are differences. I just, at this level, I don't tend to care about them. I'm actually pretty happy with the Napoleon Blake combo, but I do have a 10-pound Parrott unit, which I intend to start leveling up. I've got a couple of 3-inch ordnance units, and they're better. They're better by a long shot than their 1.24 stat attribution, but I'm still not in love with them, and I'm going to be retiring them as soon as I can afford to do so. At the moment, however, I don't really have the guns to do it. And we don't have a Parrott gun, that kind of thing. So I have a metric shitload of 12-pound howitzers and a metric half shitload of 6-pound field guns. We're doing pretty good on Napoleons, but I'm not really feeling the need to have a lot of them yet. I think counter battery is so vital. Now that the Union AI, or probably the Confederate AI, has like this major hard-on for killing your cannons, I am placing an inordinately higher priority on counter battery fires than even I used to, and I used to place a pretty high level of import on it. So we have one 24-pound howitzer unit, and then we have the rest of the Army. So the same model as is going up here. I'm probably going to swap. Yeah, we'll do that now. So we have the general divisional model then is 4 line infantry, 1 special of some kind or another, and 1 artillery. That's the general model that I've got going on right now. For the time being, I am probably going to, we're going to say, abandon the concept of the concentrated light division. I have been doing that in a lot of these games, and like I know I just said in the last video that the key to unlocking cross keys was cavalry for me. I find cavalry hard hard to level up. So we'll see. I have the money to kind of swing it, right? So maybe. We have a sort of nascent second core spun up. As you can see, it's very, very preliminary, and probably will not get a great deal of development before Gaines Mill, as at least in the vanilla game, you only bring 10 units. Okay, so you can bring, I guess, a full 30, but whatever. We're not going to bring that many. We're going to bring whatever we can afford. Second core is brand new. This just got spun up after Shiloh and has not seen action. As you can see, it's not seen a moment of action. These are the units that were coming out of Shiloh. I mean, they're about as beat up as they were in the Legendary game. Legendary game, all my guys have taken roughly 50-ish% casualties, and that was more or less the case here as well. But the difference is that I had the economy to build the army back up, and we're doing okay on weapons. We're not great on Harper's Ferries. We're not great on any other kind of rifled weapon. So the troops that get created here for Gaines Mill, the other infantry that gets made up, is probably going to be these guys brought up to strength, but they've got a really weird mishmash of weapons, so we're going to have to just kind of figure it out. As far as, I forget what perks I chose when I was starting the campaign, but I haven't put more than 1 point in politics. So I think I was politics 3, econ 1, AO 1 or 2, and then a mix of logistics and not regression. You tell I'm taking a stats class right now, logistic regression, right? Logistics and reconnaissance. I want to say it was log 1 and recon 3. That sounds right. And so prior to Shiloh, I put all the points I could to get to AO 6, at which it will stay for a while. I'm generally happy with Recon 4 for the time being. I'd like to get Econ, Log, and Medicine up. Politics 4 is probably okay for the time being, but Politics is quite a bit more powerful than its vanilla counterpart. Although at this juncture, you don't really feel it, because I think it's 5%, it's like 1% more powerful. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm misremembering terribly, how powerful politics is. I think at 0.5, at 5 points in politics, I would get a plus 25% modifier to both income and recruits. But it might be smaller. I know medicine is more powerful per point, and I'm really, really pretty happy with that 10% unit restore. I'd love to get it up to 30%. I mean, that's going to be fantastic, right? That's going to do a lot to protect the value of the army and preserve the intelligence, the training and the skills, the stat gains. It's going to be great to get that up there. Our bench is pretty deep. We're doing okay. I've got to put some. Actually, I'm going to, while I'm here, let's put Beauregard in division command. Jackson's probably fine there. Yeah, he's fine. Yes, I'd love to see some of these guys pick up general rank. Archer is probably also fine. Yeah. So we can actually slot some of these officers into either new units or artillery units in order to farm experience for them. I might do that with Beauregard and Jackson, actually, because those guys are fine. Withers and Ruggles, they're fine. They're fine division commanders. I might do it B as well, actually. I'm pretty sure, Ewell. I'm pretty sure Ewell was also a historical general. Pretty sure B, I know Beauregard and Jackson were. I'm fairly certain Ewell and B were as well. But whatever. We're going to level those three up and try and get them their star, their first general rank, probably in Gaines Mill. So we're going to bring all of 1st and 2nd Division exactly as it is, and we're probably going to bring... actually, I want to level up a different cav unit, so we're not going to bring you... I don't want to bring you. We don't need snipers in this battle. Probably the 10-pounders. They could use the experience, I think. Yeah, none of the other infantry really needs it. Yeah, so you don't need the experience. You're fine. Can I swap you for a different gun? No. Okay. Yeah, the 10-pounders are fine. Noteworthily, so this unit will be swapping its Whitworths out for something in the near future. I mentioned in the last battle, I had 400 Whitworths exactly. I had 419 men in the unit that I have every intention of turning into a sniper unit. So, like, great, right? Like, son of a bitch. I can't take 19 men out of the unit, or like put 19 men on, I don't know, stretcher bearer duty or some shit. So I took this unit, and then of course I took losses. So great. We have how many do we have actually? So we have a total of 406 scope Whitworths. So yeah, we're right there. So ideally, first VA takes a couple of losses, like 10 to 15 in the course of this battle, and then I take them into Gaines Mill as proper snipers, because I would like to have proper snipers, and that's because they have the super accuracy perk, and they've got a fantastic firearm stat. And then we'd like to let second light infantry, the second Tennessee line, light infantry, and give them maybe a Harper's Ferry, or if I have a couple of 61s at that point in time, just a good battle rifle, and they're going to be my genuine, my regular light infantry. One other point before I go ahead and call this, because we've really accomplished the objective of what I wanted to in a camp video, is I used to have a Grenzer unit that was composed of 1,000 men. It had, these units, whatever. They were great. It was a good unit, and they had some experience, but barely 1 star. It wasn't a big deal. And I noticed one of the things that kept kicking my ass in Cross Keys was the hugeness of the Confederate, of the Union skirmisher swarm. And I chatted with Panda about this a little bit. So, scaling scaling happens, right? We all know about scaling. And instinctually, it makes sense that it would do this, but I didn't know for sure, is that the individual unit types more strongly affect the matching unit type. So bigger batteries on your army will lead to bigger batteries on the opponent's army, while also having a weaker effect on the general scaling of the whole army. Bigger infantry has an effect, but like infantry makes up the majority of your army anyway, so like meh. Bigger cavalry, bigger artillery, all these kind of things. So broad strokes is, I know that you can make your units bigger, in the rebalance, whatever. But I'm probably not gonna. Like, I'm okay with these unit sizes. I think ultimately I'm planning on capping out the Confederate brigade at 1,500 men. That to me strikes me as being a nice round number, which is also actually fairly close to the historical size-ish of brigades. So like, I feel good about that from a historical perspective. I feel good about that from a gameplay perspective. And the most important thing is units of that size actually do fit on the map comfortably. Bigger brigades kind of have a hard time fitting in my experience. So I'm going to be slowly attritioning the cavalry and the infantry, the skirmishers, back down to probably 350, with like Grenzers maybe at a cap of 450 or 500. But we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that when we have the chance. So without any kind of more, so Johnston here, he has the speed perk and like no units to speak of. So I'll figure out Johnson here in a second, because he's gonna come to Gaines Mill. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video here, and then we'll do I might actually. No, they need the experience, and I want, like, you're fine, they're fine, but they need the experience. I was gonna possibly swap in fourth. I'll go ahead and record Port Republic, put that up as soon as I can this week, and then we'll get into it. Sorry again for the delay. Thanks again for sticking this out. I'm really glad to be back. Thanks for the warm welcome, guys, for the comments in the last video, and onward for Dixie or whatever. This is Fiasco signing out, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.